Hello everyone, so I'm here to do another weekly reads, and this one I'm sorry it's gonna be a bit late because I'm recording this on Monday, so yeah, it will come probably later today on Monday, but yeah, I thought I will do this anyway, because I have been reading some stuff this week, and that is basically because the Booker shortlist is announced tomorrow, Tuesday, uh, and I wanted to read as many of the books for the long list as possible. So this week I read Bewilderment, which was an ARC copy from NetGalley. I read The Fortune Man, and I read Clara Anderson. And I have reviews for all of them, so I will link for the reviews for that down below. But I want to talk about the books a little bit more. So Bewilderment by Richard Powers. It's about a father and a son. The mom has tragically died, and they are both dealing with that death and also with the fact that the boy kind of has autistic traits, and it's very into nature and nature conservation. And the father is an astrobiologist, and they have this beautiful relation in which they both imagine nature in other worlds and other ways. They have this deep interest for nature, and that's one of the things that connects them really together. And I just thought it was beautiful. It's kind of the quiet, soft version of the overstory for me, and I loved it. So yeah, that was a success. Then I also read The Fortune Man by Nadifa Mohammed. It's a historical novel in which we follow a couple of characters in Cardiff, and the main character, I would say, is a Somali man that is accused of a murder that he didn't commit, and we see how the justice system and the whole society works against him to judge him. And this is based on real facts, real story. I found it a little bit messy. I didn't think that the way that it chose to tell the story was the most effective way that it could have done that, but I did enjoy the story. I think it was interesting to see sort of a crime book with that twist of racism in Cardiff. I don't think I have read many books set in Cardiff, so I enjoyed that. I think it was a good enough book for me. And then the other one that I've read for the Booker is Clara Anderson by Kazuo Ishiguro, which is about this robot artificial friend that is bought to take care of, or like to accompany Josie, who is a young girl that is sick, and the reason why she's sick is because she was enhanced, so she was genetically modified to make her more intelligent, and that is why she's struggling now with her health. And we follow Clara, who is the robot, and the relationship with Josie, and also her relationship with the sun, because she is solar power, and she develops this very religious view of the sun and what the sun can do, and it's kind of about her trying to save Josie through her belief that the sun is sort of a god. It has environmental topics, it has topics of genetical modification, and yeah, there's a lot of topics here, but it did read a little bit young, and it was doing too much to simplify in too short of a span. So I think that it's not Kazuo Ishiguro's best, let's say. But yeah, you can see more on my review. And then the last book I finished is an audiobook, and that's Dear Centurion by Akweke Emezi. And this is the memoir of Akweke Emezi. And I loved reading this or listening to this. The author reads it themselves, and I loved it because it does put in context all of other Akweke's Emezi works. If you have read some other works from them, I think this is going to make you more attached and more have a deeper understanding of those other books. And it does explain, mostly it's about how they felt that they did not fit into the standard gender norms that they're imposed, but also not with a new language that disappeared in the Western world of non-binary and transgender people, because they identify as a Banje, which is a god inside a human body. That's their identity, and they do not. Obanjes don't have gender in the way that we are used to in the West. So they talk about the fact that also in the West we do have to make space for that cultural identity and their gender realities of other cultures and other minorities, and it's not instead of trying to fit it within the words that we have, maybe we should just learn their words for things, because that's a much more accurate definition. And they also go into all of the details of all of the operations and all of the pain, like mentally and emotionally, of course, but also the physical pain that these transitions take, and how nobody will choose to go through that if it was not essential for their living, for their existence. So I think it does a good job trying to explain why it is so important to accept the identity that someone has, rather than trying to impose your own ideas and norms of what gender is into other people. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant book. I think it's very it goes very deep into all of the issues that gender identities cause. And Akweke Emezi is not necessarily always very likable person. Come out sometimes a little bit pedantic and I mean, they know that they know how to write, they know how good they are, and they are not shy about it. And I think at least in my culture, that lack of humility in a way can sometimes come across as not a very nice character trait. So they don't come always as the most likable person. But that doesn't mean that what they are saying about the gendered identity politics and gender identity issues are any less true, just because I wouldn't want to be friends with them, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think it is a very valuable book to read, and I think it's something that everyone should read, especially if you have read all of the other books, because they talk about where those inspirations come from and the interpretations that have been done. Especially, for example, in Freshwater, they do talk about the Banje and being a god rather than a human, and that has been often taken as them and their struggle with identity and being a metaphor, and it's not a metaphor, is actually how it is, and it is actually my identity. It's not a metaphor. So things like that, I think it clarifies a lot of what they talk about in their books, and yeah, I think I found it very insightful. And then I'm reading 3 books at this time. The first one, let's start with the audiobook. Now that we're doing audiobooks, I'm reading Against the Loveless War, which is for the Invisible Cities project for Palestine. So this book is about a woman from, her family is originally from Palestine, but she lives in Kuwait. She has grown up in Kuwait. And she later gets also muddled into the rebel struggle. And we know that because the book starts with her in jail for what she did as a rebel. And then we go back and kind of look at the backstory and what actually happened. And how hard her life was living in Kuwait as a Palestinian refugee, kind of. That's interesting so far. I will report back when I finish that. The other one that I'm reading, A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. I need to catch up with this. I have read some, but I have not as much as I should and not as much as I wanted to. So I'm about page 704, which is more or less halfway, pretty much. And I'm reading this as a buddy read with Lauren, Ash, and Jyotsna. And Jyotsna was going even further down than I was, but she has finished it now. Like, I don't know how she did it, but she read like 1,000 pages of this in a day or two. So yeah, she has finished, and that I think has given us and the rest of us the motivation to finish it as well and discuss the whole book with Jyotsna. So yeah, I would like to at least catch up from where we were supposed to be. At the end of this week, I think we're supposed to be around here. So this is about 200 pages, which I'm not sure I'm going to be able to read 200 pages this week because I have other things that have deadlines. But yeah, I do want to continue reading this because I'm really enjoying it. And then the last book I have to talk to you about that I'm reading is Red Comet by Heather Clark, which is my last book for the Booktube Prize. And I cannot say much about that because I'm judging it, but it's a big one. I've read about 5% of it, which I think is like 50-60 pages. So yeah, that one is going to have priority because I have to judge it for the Booktube Prize, and it's big and it's dense. So yeah, I have to focus on that this week and see if I'm able to finish it with a timely manner. And I think the other thing that I need to read this week is The Island of the Missing Trees by Elif Shafak, which I have an arc for in NetGalley, and it has already come out. But I do have the arc, so I want to read the arc and review the arc before it expires, which is like in a week or so. So that's the other thing that is going to take priority at the moment for me. And then we will see. I have still books for the Invisible Cities project. I have books from the library that have to go back to the library. So there's quite a few books that I kind of have to make a dent on. But luckily this week, I think it's going to be a little bit more relaxed than the last few weeks. Last weekend, a couple of friends and I went to another friend's graduation, and we stayed there for the weekend to enjoy the celebration. And the weekend before, my parents were here, so we have been quite busy. But this week there are a lot less plans in the works, so hopefully I will have quite a bit of time to read. So yeah, let's hope for that. Also, let's see what the booker does tomorrow. And yeah, that's all for me. Let me know how your week went, and until next video, bye!